want of a better word, the fledgling parties that went in as the alliance that were still sort of cleaning house before fully coming into the party, or they just let go of everything else?
Of course, because remember, we were an alliance of about 7 political parties who had their own structures, who had their own leadership. Some of them dissolved the parties and joined the MDC, and we then started a process of integrating them into the structures of the MDC. That is the process that was going on. Some have completed that task, some have not yet completed that task as we speak.
0731-168-045 to get in touch with us. That's the number you can get in touch with us, and we'll be keeping an eye out for the phone lines to see if we can get as much as we can. Now, of course, Congress is coming in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
May 24 to 26. There's been a lot of understanding, misunderstanding, whatever the case may be, around how many positions are up for grabs. The spokesperson of the MDC Alliance, Jacob Mafume, says there are only 4. You have a different position.
Well, the last National Council dealt with that issue, and I was then tasked to go and look at the constitution that was signed by the late President Morgan Tsvangirai regarding how many positions are up for election in the National Standing Committee. And the conclusion that I have now is that it is the 16, all the positions of the Standing Committee, with the exception of the position of Secretary for Elections. This is the position that I'm going to put to the National Standing Committee on Wednesday, because it's now settled. I was asked to go and look at that, and I can safely tell you that it's not the 4 anymore. It is the 16 positions that were originally contestable within the standing committee.
And so what that means is that come May 24 to 26, what's the process? I don't want to preempt anything.
Yeah,
what happens before? What are the processes, so that people can understand?
This is an ordinary Congress. This is a Congress that we hold every 5 years. So we will start with the branch congresses. People at the branch, they vote for each other. Then we go to the ward congresses. Then we go to the district congresses. Then the provincial congresses. After the provincial congresses, we will then have a process of nomination of those people who want to contest into the National Standing Committee and the National Executive. The system is that it's not a person who declares themselves. For example, for me to say I want to be this position or that position, the provincial assemblies themselves will sit and nominate each position. They will nominate a person for each position, and if more than one person is nominated by the province, there will be an election by secret ballot to decide who the nomination for that province, for that particular position, is going to be. So that is the process that is going to take place. It is only when a person is nominated that we can then put them on the ballot paper for the election. You cannot be on the ballot paper unless you are nominated. Of course, the Constitution does provide for the floor nominations at Congress, where if a person has not secured nominations in the provinces, then they may be nominated from the floor. But we do discourage that because it presents a logistical nightmare. We want to be able to print the ballot papers in a professional manner, and the numbers to be printed have to be determined.
So are we saying that people cannot declare their interest in a position unless they're nominated?
The declaration is meaningless. It's a statement of wish. It is meaningless. It doesn't confer candidature.
No, we're not necessarily talking about candidates.
Yes.
So, for example, there are people who wished to be president but didn't make it. But I'm saying, whether it's because they didn't get on the ballot box, because they didn't have the $1,000 or whatever the case may be, there is a wish. Can someone declare that they would like to be president?
Of course they can. In fact, under the freedom of expression provisions, anybody can say the position that they want. But the point I'm making is that is not very meaningful. It is good to know the intentions of people, but the ultimate decision in the MDC system is the nomination, which is done by secret ballot by the provinces. Then the person is officially a candidate. Before that, they cannot be candidates.
0731168045. I see a lot of your messages coming in, but I want to get through a couple of fundamental issues with the senator here, and as far as understanding what the processes are around the election that takes place. So on the day, one of the days, 24 to 26, what actually happens? How is the voting? How does it take place?
There are 3 national congresses that will take place. The first congress is the Congress of the Youth. The youth wing, they elect their chairperson and his executive. Then we have the Women Congress, which is going to take place the next day, where they elect their executive as well. Then the last one would be the main congress, where the National Standing Committee will be elected. So there will be 3 elections that will take place. But for a person to be electable at that congress, they have to be nominated by at least one province, and then they get on the ballot paper. So we will have ballot papers ready printed, specific number equal to the number of the candidates plus the contingency, and the election of the standing committee is going to be presided over by an independent commission. It's not going to be run by the MDC officials. So last Congress, that is 2014, the election was run by the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions. So we will have an independent commission running the election.
So to be clear, for the avoidance of doubt, the presidency is up for contestation at this particular
Yes,
Congress.
Definitely, yes. That is if we have more than one nomination. If we have more than one nomination, then we will have a ballot paper. But if, for example, we do not have, we have only one nomination, then that person is automatically elected. What is important there, Larry, is that that person is declared elected. The way we choose the president at a congress like this is via an election. So if you get nominated and no one else is nominated, then you are duly elected. You are duly declared elected. Where there is more than one, then there will be a contest. There will be an election by secret ballot in the Congress floor.
Okay, I want to play a clip from earlier today, and I want to get your response on that. Get in touch with us on 0731 168 045.
This came from two meetings that were held Saturday and Sunday, and the position came from people who are already in the structures, and those people do make up the Congress delegates. Their voice then stands in terms of giving the nomination to the presidential candidate, who is the person who said is Harare province. We are standing with Nelson Chamisa. Anyone who has aspirations, anyone who thinks or dreams of contesting Nelson Chamisa, probably would be declaring themselves an enemy of Harare province as an assembly, an enemy of progress.
ZiFM Stereo, the platform. Step up and speak up.
So, what's your opinion on that? Those are very strong words. Enemy of Harare province and... Yeah, very. Anyone who stands against.
Well, Larry, let's be fair here. This is the youth speaking, and they have a manner in which they speak. But if we go to the substance, it is not disallowed for people to give their preference of who they want. But once they have their preference, that preference has to go through the rigmarole that is provided in the Constitution. We then have to nominate. So if they want a particular candidate, they have to make sure that that candidate is nominated. And if there is more than one, a person who is nominated, then it goes through an election, which takes place at Congress. Whoever wants their candidate must be prepared to vote for them at Congress. So what we encourage party members is that if you have your preference, make sure that you mobilize for that person. But people must always remember that we must respect the rights of others. While you may like X, others may like Y, and that has to be respected. We are very strict about that. And therefore, those who want a particular person must work hard to make sure that that person is put on the ballot paper via a valid nomination. And they have to make sure that that person then galvanizes enough votes to win an election.
So what you're saying is essentially it's the same thing that you're talking about. If somebody says that they're interested in becoming the Secretary General or whatever the case may be, these pronouncements are pretty much the same as that.
Well, if someone wants to be anything in the MDC, they have to secure a valid nomination. Otherwise, any statements outside the nomination process is simply a statement of intent. It does not have legal effect. This is the point I'm trying to make to the members of the party, to the members of the public. If they want their candidate, they have to make sure that they secure a nomination for that candidate.
Then the question, though, is certain words like, I know you sort of said this is how youth talk, but words like an enemy of the party?
Well, the truth is a person doesn't become an enemy of the party because they want a particular position as well. We must always accept that people may want, they may feel capable, they may want to contest certain positions. They must be allowed. In terms of our constitution, they are allowed to contest. And just to flashback, Larry, at the rally in Mukoba, President Nelson Chamisa made that very, very clear, that anybody can contest any positions that they wish, and that the positions that they are nominated for. So we do not preclude people from seeking to be elected. We don't preclude people from seeking to be nominated. No, we don't do that.
So, of course, having said that, the big question that everyone has been asking, are you interested in being a president of the MDC Alliance?
I have heard this question over and over again, Larry, and my answer earlier on today when somebody asked me that question is that this is a very, very unfair question. We are going to have more than 10 people who are going to be elected. We have 17 people in the National Standing Committee of the MDC. These people have plans about their future. They are not being asked to declare their intentions aforehand, up front. Why is Douglas Mwonzora being asked to make that declaration up front? How fair is that? And why me? Why is it that I have to make this declaration now? Now, my answer is, to that question, I definitely am going to contest for a position in the MDC Congress. What that position will be will depend on what I am nominated for by the people of the MDC.
Okay, fine. But what are you interested in?
I am interested in a position that the people of the MDC want me to.
No. Okay, let's put it clearly. Everyone's got some level of ambition, and if you end up getting a certain position, you be like, okay, I will still do it. But what is your ambition? Because it's been said and quite clearly, and one could even suppose that the reaction by the Youth Assembly youths is that you have been touted as the most prominent person who might be standing against Advocate Chamisa.
My ambition, Larry, is to have a democratic organization being the change agent to bring about a democratic Zimbabwe through peaceful, democratic and constitutional means. Now, regarding what my personal ambition is going to be, what I aim to be within the MDC, It is not for me, Larry. This is the point I'm trying to make. It is up to the MDC members themselves. And let me say, it is up to the majority of the MDC members. They will know that we want to leave Douglas Mwonzora at the position of Secretary General. They may think that, no, we want to push him to national chairman or to vice president, or they may think that they want to push him to president. It is their prerogative, and they haven't exercised that prerogative yet. As you may appreciate, I am the Secretary General, and that job involves processes, key processes. And this is a process issue. Those people who may want me know what to do. They have to nominate. If I am not nominated, then I cannot stand, even if I want to stand. But let me say...
But surely the question that must be asked is, going back to what you said earlier, that if, say, for example, the youth and whoever they support, that they should essentially campaign for their person so that they can get onto the particular ballot that they would like to get onto and so forth. Surely you can't tell us that you're not campaigning for any particular position or trying to canvass support for a particular
The truth of the matter, Larry, is that, of course, we at this point in time, people do consultations, and to be fair to the listeners, I am doing my consultations with the provinces, the districts, the wards, to see what possibilities are in store for me. And once I have made up my mind, I will, just like every one of my colleagues, we will make our intentions known. But I am not going to declare an intention that may not have the traction of the followers. So the MDC people at this point in time, they are the kings. They are the bosses. They are the people who will tell us where each one of us is going to go. At this point in time, what we urge members of the party is to desist from presumptions. It is to desist from language that may be viewed as undemocratic. We do not condone that. We do not accept that. Our party has a constitution. Our party has a clear, elaborate system on how we do things, and the things that we are able to say, and that things that are simply taboo in a democratic organization. And that is for me as Secretary General to safeguard. We do not agree, we do not condone hate language. But the decision of where one stands rests with the members of the MDC. I will be a slave of the people. What they've always done in the past congresses, first when I was elected as a secretary for local government in Manicaland province long ago, and then when I was elected as the spokesperson of the party, and when I was elected as Secretary General of the party, it was through a process of nominations.
So the question I'll ask is, there's something that you said that you are not going to make declarations for things that you do not believe you have traction for. Do you believe you do not have traction for the presidency at this moment?
I do not know yet. That's the plain truth. I have heard people...
But are you hoping for traction for the presidency?
I have heard people, I've read people, I don't know how genuine they are. I have heard people who are for my candidature. I have heard people who are very much against my candidature. I have heard people who are neutral. Now, the issue is, of those three groups, the neutral, the no's, and the yeses, the one which dominates the others, the one which is the majority, carries the day for me.
So the question then, therefore, follow-up question on that is to say, obviously, any election that takes place is about getting the moderates. So are you saying right now you have no interest in trying to get the ones who are neutral about to be interested in your candidature as the president?
Yeah, well, if I then make my mind after my consultations to run for any office, including that of president, I want to make it upfront that I'm not disallowed. In terms of clause 5.5.1 of the MDC Constitution, I have the right to vote, and I have right to be voted for in any position. Unfortunately for Zimbabwe, unfortunately for me right now, I'm the only person in this country who is being asked to declare their interest up front. something which my colleagues do not have the benefit of.
But
it's
obviously
unfair.
there must be something that is there, because even some of your colleagues are making statements. Charlton, when they're going out making statements.
that one.
No, but that one, yes, that specific one, he's making statements because there's a belief that he believes that he probably prefers the incumbent at the moment, and you are disturbing his plans.
Okay, I'm sorry, I haven't spoken to Charlton Wende for a while. As you know, he isn't currently in Namibia. He, like anybody else, have the right of choice. They have the right to prefer whoever they want. That's number one. Number two, there is another right that goes with their right. It is the right of other MDC members who may think differently from what Mr. Wende does. The beauty with a democracy is that people are then asked to choose and the majority determine. But this is Mr. Wende. I haven't talked to Mr. Wende about my candidature at all. He doesn't know. And I see him on Twitter every time. I have seen other people. I have seen Mr. Pedzai Ruhanya writing statements, very unresearched ones, I should say. For example, he says, I joined the MDC after 2005, when in fact in 2005, I was the parliamentary candidate for Nyanga constituency before it was split into Nyanga North and Nyanga South. I was the candidate. So these are some of the things that come. This is political banda. This is work of people who want to affect the chances of a person they perceive as an opponent. It is not up to those leaders. It is up to the members of the MDC to place their leaders. And the members of the MDC know all of us. And they know what Mr. Mwonzora is capable of. They know where they want to deploy me. They have that in their minds. And they are going to tell me that. And I'm waiting for that.
So when we look at it, let's look at last year when with the unfortunate passing of the late Morgan Tsvangirai. If at that point there was a Congress that took place, and in this instance an extraordinary Congress, if I'm correct, only a certain number of positions are up for grabs, isn't it?
Yes.
So if that was the case, would you have been interested in that position if people came to you and said, hey,
Larry, my vote was going to be my secret.
No, would you have been not necessarily voting if people said that we're interested in you and you knowing
in me,
you knowing your capacity?
Okay.
Would you have been interested in running?
Oh, okay. You mean that if I had been nominated in 2018,
yes,
of course I would have run. Of course, I would have run. I don't have any disability that I know of, which will disqualify me for that. I have been in the struggle, in the democratic struggle since 1988, when I was a student at the University of Zimbabwe. I was jailed in Wawa prison in 1990 for drafting the constitution of the opposition party then, the Zimbabwe Unity Movement. I was politically conscious at a very early stages of my life. My whole life at the university, I was already in the national executive of a political party. We were fighting against the one-party state. And when in my later life, I was able to challenge the government in the constitutional court on the constitutionality of the Political Parties Finances Act. I was 28 at that point in time. I was lucky to win that case. When I went into Parliament, I was lucky to be appointed a member of the COPAC, where I rose to be co-chairperson. And my brief from my party and from President Tsvangirai was to deliver a new people-driven and democratic constitution of Zimbabwe. I'm happy to say I think we delivered that. So I do not have to be unkind to myself. I do not suffer any disability that I know of.
So what you're saying is that should you be chosen to become president, you would be able to run this party?
I can't fail to run the party, Larry, because as Secretary General, basically you are running the party. I have been a member of the standing committee since 2011, and as spokesperson of the party, and then as Secretary General of the party. Basically, right now, I run the organization administratively. The president is overall in charge. So, for a person like me, I've been a lawyer for 26 years. I have been a law lecturer part of those years, and I have run my law firm. I've run other businesses and other organizations. I was a member of the NCA, as you know. Yes, so running organizations is not something new to me.
So in that instance, you believe that you're as capable of as anyone else, or do you believe you're the most capable person?
Well, I do not think I am incapable. I don't think I'm incapable. I think I'm capable. Whether I am more capable than others is not for me to judge now. It is up to the people to judge.
No,
I certainly know.
I'm talking about you judging, because you seem very confident in your abilities. We're talking about your abilities. Let's take that aspect out, with what everybody else's mind. There might be people sitting on the fence and not knowing some of the things that you're capable of doing, and there are issues that will have to be sorted out in as far as the party is concerned after the Congress is concerned, is done. So do you believe that you would be the most capable person to deal with some of the urgent issues? So, for example, let's talk about the fact that, for example, at a high level, you might call it political banter, but it is in some way causing certain divisions within the party, with some people believing that they belong to a certain section of the party as opposed to another.
Yeah, well, first of all, people must differ in the political party in respect from manners, and people must know the forum in which to raise their issues, especially if it is internal party issues. And of course, yes, that type of discipline is needed. That type of discipline where officials don't just go to the Twitter, don't go to WhatsApp and Facebook and start attacking other officials in a way that is unfair.
So how would you deal with that?
No, we have to make sure that every person who has a grievance brings it to the appropriate forums. For example, we have the National Executive, we have the National Standing Committee, we have the National Council. The National Council said recently, and we did not have issues like this. So those are platforms where people can say this is what the Secretary General is doing, and corrective action is taken. When people go external, then that goes beyond fair criticism. It goes to mudslinging, and that cannot be encouraged in an organization.
So when you have certain instances, for example, where you say, there are sticking issues that many people ask about. Say, where in this instance, let me read this and then I'll make reference to what I'm talking about. 0731168045. Somebody says Senator Mwonzora is a very brilliant person. I respect him, but right now, what MDC needs is a candidate who is not endorsed by or preferred a ZANU-PF candidate. What should give MDC is that ZANU-PF is their enemy. What should guide rather MDC is that ZANU-PF is their enemy, so they cannot have a candidate whom ZANU-PF wants. That shows ZANU-PF fears one candidate over the other. And, for example, Honorable BT, for example, Tendai BT, describing you as a half-wit sponsored by the ZANU-PF. How do you take it in as far as response is concerned?
Well, it's BT's opinion regarding my intellectual capacity. I'm not going to be worried about that. BT knows me. We were in Goromonza High School together. We were in law school together. I was in the task force of the NCA with him together. We have been in the MDC together. We are in parliament together. If in his opinion, we were in the COPAC together. He was a member of the management committee as Minister of Finance. And I would go to them with things that would have written in the Constitution. If after all that, he believes that I'm a half-wit, who am I to contradict him? Maybe he thinks I'm not good enough, but that is his opinion, and I'm not worried about it. But what I know is that he must have said it in a state of anger or something. It's not something that.
But there are accusations that are being made against you, Senator Mwonzora. That, for example, there's a $6 million kitty that has been provided by the governing party to sponsor your election.
Well, Larry, do I look like a person with 6 million? But
I don't know what a person looks like with 6 million.
Larry, first, I don't think this government is in a position to part with that money at all. I mean, this government is broke.
No, but this is not necessarily the government. This is the political party. So
it is broke. We all know it.
But it's not government coffers that people are worried about. It's saying that, this political party has said that it found $6 million somewhere, wherever it came from. It might be from a benefactor or whatever the case may be.
Larry, I do not believe that. I do not believe that for a minute. I do not also believe that the people who are making those accusations think they are true. No, this is a way of throwing mud at somebody. It is untrue, it is unfair, it is unjust. But most important, if that was true, what am I still doing in the MDC? Why am I not fired? Why am I right now in constant contact with my president, arranging this Congress? Why am I running the party? Why would they allow somebody like that to run the party? What that shows is that it is not true. But one thing I've learned is that when you see people making these kinds of accusations, you must really start investigating them. What I've said to my colleagues is that you come to the National Standing Committee on Wednesday, come to the President, Advocate Chamisa, and bring your allegations and bring your evidence. I am confident that there is nothing like that. I want the people of Zimbabwe to know that I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of integrity. And I have been in opposition longest than everybody else that I have within the current leadership. I was in the opposition in 1988 and so on. And I am a man of my own convictions. And I am not going to be dissuaded by being asked to change my beliefs because of money. No, I'm 50 years old. I do not need that kind of dirty money at all. But I am challenging my colleagues to come to the party, to come to the president of the party, to put these allegations to me, to try me and see what happens.
0731168045. I want to read a couple of your messages, but before I do that, the issue that is coming up also is the issue that I made the reference to earlier and how you would deal with it. For example, one of the vice presidents, Elias Mzuri, said this Congress could split the party. What's your opinion on that? Well,
my opinion is that where you have elections, where people have to choose, and it is in terms of the Constitution, why should there be a split? A split comes because some people don't want to accept the results of a democratic process. If I am to contest in any position and I do not succeed, I will congratulate the winner and work under that person. That is the essence of democracy. Democracy is the dictatorship of the majority. So there is no possibility of splitting the party because of Congress. A split may come where people outside the democratic process want to affect the democratic process and saying things that are calculated to hurt your opponent's chances, those things that are untrue, those things that you cannot possibly justify. That is unfair, and it is calculated simply to bring ill feelings on my part from members of the party who may think that this is true. But I want to assure Zimbabwe that this is not true. These are lies, and the people who have said it have gone to the Twitter, they've gone to the Facebook, and for all I know, if I was to take a legal action on them, they will say they are not the ones who wrote those things. But if people are serious about their allegations, they come to the party, they come to the president and give their allegations, and I will be suspended. How come I am not suspended?
0731168045. Somebody says some of your comrades within the MDC suggest that ZANU-PF sees you as a preferred candidate because they believe that you're weaker. What is your response to that?
On the charge that I am weak, I certainly plead not guilty. I am not weak, but being weak does not mean, being strong does not mean that I speak to my opponents in the harshest of terms. No, I can be soft-spoken, I can be polite to people without being weak. Being weak, being strong is that you have mentally what it takes. I am not weak. Number one, I was one of the first students to fight against the one-party state. I was jailed for it in Wawa prison. Number two, I took ZANU-PF government to court in 1997 over the constitutionality of the Political Parties Finances Act. Number three, I was part of the people who voted, who campaigned for the no vote under the NCA banner. Number four, I was a key member of the constitution negotiations under COPAC. Now, all those we succeeded, and that cannot be done by somebody who is weak and so on. So it's something that we will always say about the other. For example, if we, as young people, if we both want the same girl, Larry, you will tell them that my mouth stinks. You will tell them that. You will tell them that I'm ugly. You will tell them all manner of unpalatable things about your opponent. It is human nature. But let me come to why they are saying that ZANU-PF prefers me. And I want to quote two tweets. The first tweet was by a person called Louis Matutu. I've gone to research to that after these accusations. And Matutu says, in answer to a question, to something which Mr. Charlton Wende had said, Matutu says, I think Mwonzora will win. Now, when somebody says, I think Mwonzora will win, does that mean they support that person? I'll give you an example, Larry. I am a Liverpool supporter. But when Roma is playing Juventus, I can predict the score. I can say Juventus may win. That does not mean that I support Juventus. But most importantly, Mr. Matutu was then questioned by people on that platform. And he said, and I quote, I hate both Douglas Mwonzora and Nelson Chamisa, end of quote. Now tell me that is a person who prefers Mwonzora. No, certainly not.
Okay, but I must ask a follow-up question though, and it kind of segues nicely into that, in that, let's walk away from the weakness. There's a headline that came out and says, I'll be tougher on ZANU-PF if I were to be elected as president of MDC Alliance. So what is wrong with the party right now, and where can it improve in terms of being more tougher on ZANU-PF?
No, the context in which I said is that I was answering to what my colleagues were saying, that I was a weakling and so on and so forth. I am certainly not a weakling, and I was simply saying that.
So when you're saying you be tougher, you be tougher is very specific because it is compared to something else.
Well, I'm not comparing myself to anybody. You have said earlier on that I can judge myself by myself. By myself, I know that I am probably a very difficult opponent. So
you're saying you're not tough on them at the moment?
Sorry?
You're saying you're not tough on them at the moment if you're comparing yourself against yourself?
No. That's not what I'm.
This is a very specific question. Yeah. So we're not dealing with hypotheticals here. So when you say you be tougher, in what context is it?
Well, first, every leader has his style. Morgan Tsvangirai had his style. President Chamisa has his style. Other leaders, Tendai Biti has his style. Wende has his style. I have my style. I think my style is difficult for the opponent. That's what I meant.
So what makes it difficult for the opponent as opposed to whoever you might stand against?
No. I wasn't comparing myself to anybody.
No. But you say they have their own style. You say your style is difficult. This is tougher. This is not. I'm going to be tough, which means it's neither here nor there.
Well, Larry, you convince me that you did not read that article. Now,
what I'm asking
the heading of that article and what is in the article are slightly different in that context. You think that I said in open and closed courts that I will be tougher for ZANU-PF.
I'm dealing with what you said as an answer.
Yes.
To say all these have different styles and so forth and all that other stuff, and then you classified yourself specifically as being tough as opposed to the others.
No.
So,
I didn't
so the
say,
others, you say they've.
I didn't
you
say
that others have a different style of leadership, and you also specifically tough.
I will judge myself and I'll speak for myself. I'm not here to judge other leaders. But definitely, whoever thinks that I am a weakling when it comes to dealing with the ZANU-PF is wrong. There is historical evidence to the contrary. There is historical evidence where a youngster at the age of 25 was brave enough to take this government to court. This was during the prime time of Robert Mugabe. I dared him in the Supreme Court. We went there, we argued the matter, we were successful. Now, to tell me that that person is a weakling, that is being unfair to them. To say a person who braved the government of the day during Kopak, I was detained 27 days in Mutare remand prison by the government of President Robert Mugabe because I had insisted on the term limit. I got out of that prison and continued to insist on my point. Therefore, I'm not a weakling.
Okay, and finally, this has been asked since the death of the late Morgan Tsvangirai, has the party 100% stuck to the Constitution?
Well, 100% is maybe too much, but it has strived to stick to the Constitution, and I think by and large we have stuck to our Constitution. Where we did not follow the Constitution, there is a clause, of course, that says that you may do certain things and seek condonation at the next Congress. For example, the Congress of the Constitution of the MDC says the MDC shall have two. It shall have a vice president. You know, that's what it says. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and then we had appointment of two vice presidents. What we then agreed is to say that we will seek condonation in the Congress. It's allowed in the Constitution.
So in the context of that question, and this being a final question, fortunately we've run out of time, out of, say, a scale of 100, where would you say that you have been?
Well, you mean as far as...
conforming?
I think the party has performed well, Larry. I think after the death of our icon, the fact that Nelson was able to pull that number of votes should be credited to him. He did very well. He worked very well. No one can take away that from him. But I also was very impressed about the oneness in that campaign. I was in charge of Manicaland province, campaigning for the president and so on. And I'm very proud of the score that we had in Manicaland. I'm very proud about the performance in Manicaland. We were working as one. We will continue to work as one. This Congress period is a passing phase. And unfortunately for the members of the MDC, they may be asked to choose between this leader and that leader when it comes to Congress. It's their responsibility. They have to live up to it. But what I want to say is that you must disagree in respect. You must disagree in love, in amity, and in harmony.
And then final question. Now Chila is giving me the side eye right now. Then the 2 million votes that Advocate Chamisa got last year, if you were to be elected, do you think you can garner more than that in 2023?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Finally got you to admit it. ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station, the hottest radio in town. Thank you very much for joining us. I had Senator Douglas Mwonzora. He was a little bit late, but he had a very good reason. Thank you very much for joining us. Always welcome to come here and unpack the issues around the things that are important to you. Thank you very much for coming in once again.
Thank you.
Chill out with our stories next. I'm back tomorrow between 8:30 and 9 on Health Matters. Stay tuned to ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station. As I always say, my name is Kwirirayi. I see you. Take care of yourself. Care for yourself.